Happy day, friends. This is the heart to heart for the month of October. I hope that wherever you are faring well. I hope that during the month of September, you received exactly what it is that you needed to receive in order to grow and transform and transcend, and in order to just become more aware of yourself and who you are. All right. So, for the month of October, drum roll please. We're getting into the heart to heart for the month of October. And a lot has come up, right? Has come up. For me, the month of September was really like, it was really like an all or nothing type of energy that as the month is closing out that I'm feeling right now. It's like, and then I'm going into the month of October and that's what I'm feeling. It's like this all or nothing energy, right? So it's like giving your all to this thing or to these things, to this process that's going to lift you up and exalt you, or giving your all to the things that don't exalt you, right? That's kind of the energy that I'm rolling into October with. That's what I can feel. That's what I'm hearing as I'm sitting here. It's like, how would I describe the month of September for me? So the month of September was really, the beginning of the month, I was like, this is what and then as we moved throughout the month, it was like, I needed to see things very clearly. I needed to see myself very clearly. So I kind of had to fall off the wagon a little bit and then jump back on the wagon, right? You may have been in a very similar space, but that is the energy that we're rolling into October with, is this all or nothing energy, okay? When I was meditating, the word that came through that is serving as the word of the month for October is dedication. Okay, dedication. We always hear discipline, right? We always hear the word discipline, but the word for the month of October is dedication. All right. So before we move on, before we move forward, we're going to take some deep breaths. So close your eyes wherever you are and just listen to the sound of my voice. Allow my voice to guide you. You can place one hand on your heart space, or have your hands resting in your lap or in prayer position in front of your heart. And you're just closing your eyes. Maybe you're feeling your heartbeat if your hand is on your heart space. Allow yourself to just relax. Take a deep breath in and sigh it out. Deep breath in and sigh it out. Deep breath in and sigh it out. Deep belly breath in and sigh it out. One more deep breath in and sigh it out. And with your eyes closed for just a moment more, just notice, witness, observe yourself in this moment, your energy in this moment. With your eyes closed, maybe whisper words of gratitude and thanksgiving over yourself, over your life, to God, to the universe, for meeting all of your needs, for being with you in every moment, for pulling you through the darkness, for pulling you through all of those moments that were hard, that were difficult, all of those moments that you didn't think you'd make it through. You did. Give thanks. Praise the Lord. Praise yourself. for bringing you through. For bringing you through to this moment. And then when you're ready, open your eyes and allow yourself to just be here present. So again, for the month of October, the energy that is coming through is this all or nothing energy, right? This all or nothing energy. Either we are going to dedicate ourselves fully and completely, totally to the processes that exalt us and lift us up, or we're going to give ourselves fully, totally, completely to those things that don't exalt us and lift us up, right? So that's the energy. The title for the conversation that's been coming through for the last couple of weeks is locking it in. Okay, locking it in. It's time to lock it in. It's time to lock it in, right? And so what does that mean, locking it in? It means that it's time for us, as we're stepping into the month of October, it's really time for us to write out those narratives that we want to be the foundation for our life, right? Because we get to decide. We get to decide. It is our choice. It's up to us. We get to decide what narratives we want to be the foundation for our lives, right? So when we talk about locking it in, that's what we're referring to. We're referring to, okay, identifying through connecting with your spirit, through allowing your spirit to show you what those narratives are that will exalt you and lift you up. What are those narratives that will exalt you and lift you up? That's a journaling prompt that you can write down. If you're taking notes, write that down as a journaling prompt. What are the narratives that I can dedicate myself to, that I can allow to be the foundation for my life that will exalt me and lift me up? And then you meditate over that question and you allow your spirit to reveal those narratives to you. And then you make a commitment. You dedicate yourself to those narratives. You make a commitment to locking in that narrative, right? And then also following it up with another question. What are the action steps that I can take to lock in this narrative, right? What are the action steps that I can take during the month of October and moving forward indefinitely in order to lock in this narrative, right? Because we're locking in new narratives in the month of October. We're locking it in. I also wrote in my notes, we're getting cozy. We're getting cozy with new narratives, right? So synonymous with locking it in is getting cozy. We're getting cozy with these new narratives. We're getting cozy with the narratives that our spirit, that our soul has decided will be the narratives that the foundation for our lives is built upon. All right. So work with those journaling prompts as you're moving as you're moving into the month of October, as you're moving throughout the month of October, work with those journaling prompts, work with those questions, meditate over those questions, and allow your spirit to show you what those new narratives are, right? So when it comes to this conversation, again, I said the word of the month is dedication, okay? And I was looking up the definition of dedication, and the first definition that I saw was an act or rite of dedicating to a divine being or to a sacred use. An act or rite of dedicating to a divine being or to a sacred use. So as you're moving into this new month, okay, the first thing that you want to do is decide what exactly it is that you are going to dedicate yourself to. Okay, and again, journaling because I did write that in my notes for the October heart to heart. Okay. Really taking out the time to commit to journaling is going to be very important during this month, right? Because it's through writing that your spirit, that your soul is really going to speak to you and reveal the answers to these questions to you, right? So making a decision, deciding what exactly it is that your soul is asking you to dedicate yourself to. Because a lot of times what happens is we find ourselves kind of running around like a chicken with our heads cut off, trying to figure out what it is that we want to do, right? And we're over here, and then we're over there, and then we're back over here, and then we're back over here. And again, running around like a chicken with our heads cut off. And so Spirit is saying, what we're asking you to do is to listen, right? Tune in and listen. Ask your soul, what is it that I decided before I descended into this body? What did I decide that I was going to dedicate myself to? What did I decide that I was going to dedicate my life to? Right? That's another journaling prompt that you can work with. That's another question that you can sit with and meditate over. What exactly is it that I decided that I was going to dedicate myself to, that I was going to dedicate my very breath and being to? Okay, so that's the first thing you have to do as we're stepping into this new month, is sit down and ask yourself, what is it that I am going to dedicate myself to, right? The next definition that I wrote down says the willingness to give a lot of time and energy to something because it is important. And when I wrote that down and when I was meditating over this thought, I heard that there was this conversation about part of the reason why we might struggle with staying consistent or disciplined in something is because we haven't yet decided that this thing that we're putting a little bit of effort into is not important, right? And for me, one of the examples for my life that so for the last few months, I've been going to the gym consistently, right? And I've been working on making better decisions with what I put in my body, right? I could be more consistent in that. If I'm being honest with myself, if I'm holding myself accountable, I could be more consistent in the nutrition part. The gym part, I'm doing really great at. But the nutrition aspect, I could be more consistent. I know what my body is asking for. I know what my body wants. I could be more consistent in that. So when I was reading this definition of dedication, the willingness to give a lot of time and energy to something because it is important, I had to ask myself, and I had to pause and ask myself, have I decided that, or have I determined that what I put in my body is actually important to me, right? So when you are stepping into this new month, when we're stepping into this new month and we're deciding what it is that we really want to focus on, right? When we're stepping into this new month, we have to ask ourselves this question. What is it? Have I decided that this is truly important to me? Okay, and this goes into another point that came through for the October heart to heart, is no more lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. If it's not important to you, stop lying to yourself. Because here's what we do. We'll say, oh yeah, I'm going to be consistent in this. I'm going to do A, B, and C. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then we don't do it. And very clearly, Spirit let me know that's you lying to yourself. That's you betraying yourself. So in order for us to stop lying to ourselves about what it is that we're going to do or what it is that we're going to change, right? We have to first decide what is actually important. We have to first decide what it is that is actually important to us. Because if going to the gym, if having a healthy body is important to me, then I'm going to dedicate myself to that practice, to waking up in the morning and being in the gym by 6 a.m. and spending an hour and a half in the gym and then walking outside like I do, right? But then I also have to say, okay, if the nutrition aspect is important to me, then I'm going to make sure that I am meal prepping my meals on Sunday for the first couple of days of the week. And then on Wednesday, I had decided that I was going to meal prep for the rest of the week on Wednesday. So I have to dedicate myself to that practice. I have to make sure that I am setting aside the time to get that done, because that is important to me. What I put into my body and paying attention to what I put into my body is important to me, right? So asking yourself, what exactly is it that I am supposed to be dedicating myself to? And then deciding what it is that is actually important to you, right? Because right now, you may find yourself telling people, oh yeah, I'm going to go here, I'm going to show up to that. But is that actually important to you right now? Is being out and about and being seen and being, in the middle of everything really important to you right now? If not, then don't lie to yourself and say you're going to go, because you know that right now that's not really important to you. Right now, you don't want to be spending your money, out there. You want to be saving your money, right? So no more lying to yourself, right? That is one of the things that Spirit is calling you to stop doing, right? To really pay attention to in the month of October is the way in which you may be lying to yourself about things that you say you're going to do, but then you don't do them. And it's really because you haven't decided that it's actually important to you, right? So that will eliminate, once you decide what it is that's important to you, that will eliminate the lying to yourself, okay? All right. Let's see. So we're going to go here. So one of the notes that I wrote is that a lot of times when it comes to wanting to experience change in our lives, when it comes to wanting to experience transformation in our lives, a lot of times we approach the change with this sense of desperation. Okay? A lot of times we approach wanting change, a lot of times we're desperate for change. A lot of times we're desperate for the change to happen, right? So here is there needs to be this shift. And so again, sticking with the word of the month, which is dedication. So instead of being desperate for change, we want to be dedicated to change. Because previously I've spoken about how the change happens through us. God is doing it through us. God is the transformation is happening through us. It's not an external thing that happens, right? Transformation is not some external transformation and change is not based off of what's going on in the external world. Transformation and change happens through us. So we have to shift our mindset from being desperate for change to being dedicated for change. That means we have to decide that we are going to show up for the change that we wish to see occur in our lives. So again, asking yourself, asking your spirit, what does that look like? If I'm to show up for the change, what does me showing up for the change look like? Right? So stepping out of this desperation, stepping away from being desperate for change and shifting towards being dedicated to change. That is going to make the world a world of difference in our lives whenever we let go of this desperation. Because what are some things, an example that comes to mind is people who struggle financially. They go out and they go to the casinos and they spend a lot of their times at the casino. They spend a lot of their money, putting money into the slots, trying to win right? And a part of the reason why that is because they're desperate for change. So they're going to go spend their last 20 at the casino because they are desperate for change. They are so willing to take that risk, to risk their last 20 because they're so desperate for change. Think about how things would really shift and transform in your life if you shifted from being desperate for change to being dedicated to the change that you want to see occur in your life, right? Again, because that change, that transformation happens through you. God is doing it through you. You are the portal for that change to flow through. You are the portal for that change to flow through, right? So moving away from being desperate for change and really committing yourself, really being dedicated to change and asking yourself, what does that look like? When I show up for myself, when I say, okay, I'm going to dedicate myself to change, what does that look like? What does that look like? Okay. The next thing that I want to touch on briefly is this idea that, and it goes back to locking in a new narrative, right? Locking in a new narrative. It goes back to that point. So what I wrote in my notes is God is responding to the narrative that you are pushing out. The universe is responding to the narrative that you are pushing out. God is responding to the narrative that you are pushing out. Let that sink in for a moment. So again, right? And I love how it just all ties together. We're so desperate for change. Instead of being dedicated to change, we're desperate for change. So then this will help you identify those narratives that you need to let go of, right? Why am I so desperate for change? What narrative am I holding on to? We'll just say whenever it comes to finances, what narrative am I holding on to whenever it comes to money that has me so desperate for change? Because when you ask yourself that question, when you identify that narrative that you're holding on to whenever it comes to money, you'll be able to identify why life is responding to you in the way that it is. Because again, God, life, the universe is responding to the narrative that you are pushing out. So you want to give yourself permission to push out a new narrative, right? Right? If you struggle with committing to your wellness, what narrative are you pushing out? What narrative are you pushing out to allow yourself to believe that getting healthy is hard? That making those changes is hard? What narrative are you pushing out? What narrative are you listening to? What narrative is out there in the world that you're listening to that has you believing that tending to your well-being is hard? All right. So God is responding to, life is responding to the narrative that you are pushing out always. So seeing that, accepting that, honoring that truth allows you to take more accountability, right? So we're always coming back to personal accountability. Personal accountability. Because something else that I've seen, and you may have seen the post on the post that I shared on YouTube, or that I shared on the channel, is I said God is responding to that, to the narrative that you're pushing out. Right? And I also said that it's time for you to create a new narrative. Because, and I said for yourself and for the world, because the narrative that you are allowing to flow through you has a direct effect on the narrative that is being pushed out into the world, right? So it's a collective effort. If we are going to change the world, it's a collective effort. I have to change the narratives that I am holding on to. I have to decide to allow new narratives to flow through me, because those new narratives then flow out, because everything is energy, right? And those new narratives then flow out into the world, and they have a direct effect on that has a direct effect on the world around me. And if we're all participating in that process of choosing new narratives, that is how the world changes. That is how the world shifts, right? So life is responding to the narratives that you are pushing out. So then that gives you a chance to say, well, damn, what narratives am I pushing out, right? And I'm laughing because during the month of September, I've really had those moments where I've had to really look closely, right? As this is coming through for the October heart to heart, this is not, again, I'm saying we, because as this is all coming through for the October heart to heart, I'm in real time, I'm writing these notes, and in real time, I'm processing it. And I'm like, well, having to, make these internal shifts with myself. So we're locking in new narratives. Instead of being desperate for change, we're making the decision to be dedicated to change. And we're giving ourselves permission to notice, to identify, as we dedicate ourselves to change, things will begin to shift without us having to put forth a lot of effort, right? Because now we're pushing out a new narrative, and God is going to respond to that new narrative that we're pushing out, because we're going within ourselves, and we're dedicating ourselves to change, and we're going within ourselves, and we're allowing these shifts to occur on a very, very deep level. And we're not looking at what's going on in the external world and expecting things to change out there, and then I'll change, and then things will change. And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Okay? That's not how it works. So I did mention at the beginning this idea that journaling, and I'm pretty sure when I am sharing, I always kind of try to emphasize journaling, right? I'm always telling y'all, because look, this is one journal where I was writing about dedication. This is another journal where I was writing my notes for the October heart to heart, right? So lots of notebooks, lots of journals everywhere, because if something comes through, I'm like, I'm needing to write it down, or like I'm putting it in my notes on my phone. So journaling is so important, man, because as you're writing, and as you're just, you don't really have anything that you're necessarily writing about, but you just are committed. Your intention is just to sit down with the pen and paper and just start writing, and your spirit, your soul will write through you, and those answers will come through as you're writing, as you're just giving yourself permission to free write, right? You remember being in school and your teacher saying, okay, we're going to free write. And you just wrote what came through. That's what you need to do with your journal. And so the piece of that I really want to touch on is that a part of being dedicated to change, something that I do whenever it comes to prayer in my journals, is that oftentimes I'm writing my prayers out, right? Oftentimes I'm writing my prayers out. I have just yesterday, before I wrote a prayer out, and I went back this morning and I read that prayer, and I was like, wow. Because at the end of the prayer, I said, life is more than beautiful. It's exactly what I have it to be right now. I'm grateful for what it is. I was lost in my own mind and thoughts and feelings there for a moment, but God has helped me turn it around. Praise be to God for helping me turn it around. And when I went back and read that, I was like, I was like, Jesus, thank you. God, thank you for helping me turn it around, right? So Journaling is going to be very important during the month of October. And let me get back to what I really want to say with that is that a gratitude journal, a gratitude journal is going to be very, very important, right? And I would even say dedicating 5 minutes in the morning before you do anything else, maybe dedicating, right? There's that word, dedicating 5 minutes in the morning to writing in your gratitude journal, and then 5 minutes before you go to bed, writing in your gratitude journal, right? Especially so that you can see and identify how it is things may have shifted for you as you were moving throughout your day, right? So that's going to be very important during the month of October is journaling, yes, but also committing to dedicating yourself to having a gratitude journal, right? Because gratitude can really shift some shit for you, okay? Living with a grateful heart. Listen, and don't get me started because I can feel the tears because for real, y'all, for real, gratitude can really shift some shit for you when you allow your heart to really be focused on gratitude no matter where you are in your life, no matter what is going on. Listen, what did I said? Life is more than beautiful right now. It's exactly what I'd have it to be right now. Even though, yes, there are so many things that I want to change, it's still more than beautiful right now because God has brought me through to this moment that I'm in right now, experiencing what I'm experiencing right now. All right. So that gratitude journal is going to be very, very important. Okay. Very, very important. So that's the heart to heart for the month of October. We're locking it in. We're locking it in right here, right now, because this is the only opportunity. This is the only time that we have to lock it in. We're locking it in right here, right now, and we're giving thanks. We're allowing our hearts to be grateful, because we know that as we allow this gratitude to ground us, to sustain us, right? And listen, we're expressing gratitude for the change that's taking place that we may not be able to see, right? Change is always taking place. Things are always transforming, and it's our job to tune in. It's our job to dedicate ourselves to this change that we can't yet see so that we can begin to see it. All right. I love you all so much. Let me know in the comments how this resonates for you. This is the October Heart to Heart. I'm grateful that you are here, shifting, changing, expanding, transforming, transcending what it is that you need to transcend so that your life can change, but then more importantly, so that the world that we all live within can change. All right. I love you. See you next time.